My name is Søren Rasmussen. I'm 44, soon to be 45. I have psoriasis and psoriatic arthritis. I'm from Denmark and part of the Danish Psoriasis Foundation. I've lived with psoriasis since I was 26, so 19 years now, must be. Yes, 19 years. How I got diagnosed was, well, it was a multi-part story, basically. When I experienced the first symptoms, I lived in Greenland, which is a very isolated island in the northern Atlantic, with no doctors available, and I just saw small splotches on my elbow that were pustular in a way. And I went to the local doctor that flies in a couple of times a year, and he said it was a ringworm or skin worm, and actually did such a bad job of it that he took a biopsy of it, which you don't even do for that, and then send it to Denmark for analysis, and they just said, we don't know what that is. And then by chance, a young doctor from the Danish Navy, which was where I was working at the time, he was at the base that I was working at, and he stopped me. We were playing floorball, which is a kind of hockey, and he said, wow, you have a lot of psoriasis, don't you? And I was just, no, I don't. Well, I don't think I do. He was very adamant, saying that, yes, you do, and this is what it is, and what you need to do, and that he unfortunately could not treat it. So when I got back home to Denmark, I started treatment for psoriasis and got, all the creams and uh, so basically you had to go through you call it a stairwell, treatment stairwell in Denmark, where you had to go through all the cheap things first. So stuff to put on your skin, sunlight or the light treatment, UV treatment, methotrexate, which worked for a while, and then it stopped working, and then I was just kind of lost for a while. So it took me 12 years to be well treated. Getting the diagnosis for me actually meant very little, because I had no conception as what it was, and but still it was a relief, because now I had a word for it. But since I couldn't do anything about it until I got back home and saw how hard it was to actually get the right treatment, it was a big frustration also. But of course, there's a relief going from not knowing to knowing. Getting the treatment that I needed was life-changing. Probably that's too little a word for it, because going through various treatments in 12 years, I think I had 3 major depressions during that time, because every time you just had to start over. And I completely lost hope that I could get something, that I could be well treated. I did not know that Biologic existed, and I didn't know how to push towards it within the system. So when the Danish Foundation pointed me in the direction of a clinical trial, where I didn't have to worry about, is this biological going to work? We knew that it was going to work. It was about how often did I have to take it, how much could I prolong the treatment. So I went from nearly 67% coverage on my skin, scalp, genitals, well, everywhere, to nothing in nearly 14 days. And I saw significant reductions in the thickness of my skin within 2 days. And honestly, I was in the shower, and I'm sure all psoriasis patients can recognize that if you have a lot of, especially pustular psoriasis, as I do, your skin kind of falls off when you're in the shower. And that's both a lease, because then you feel like you're worked off the inflammation and stuff, but it also, the skin residue is everywhere, and it kind of leaks. And then one day I was in the shower in the evening, and nothing came off. There was just nothing there. And I hadn't really seen that change during the day. But going through that shower and just kind of drying myself off, I could just see the difference immediately. And I went butt naked through the house and screaming, saying, "Look at this!" I mean, and it was beyond amazing. I'm doing quite well now. I've been well treated since, with few relapses, mainly due to the biological stop working. So there's been small periods of waiting where I was changing medicine, but they always kind of got me back to something that was at a good state. I do have a bit psoriasis in the scalp and a bit on my feet or my toes, basically, but not to the degree that it's something that is of concern to me anymore. I think today because during the last 7-8 years I also got psoriatic arthritis, which honestly is more top of mind because when the treatment stops working, you just hurt all the time. But I'm well treated and I'm doing well, and I'm no longer concerned what happens when the biological stops working, because I know that it will eventually. That's the curse of autoimmune diseases. Your body just adapts at some point. But I don't have any fear anymore. How I joined IDEOM was, as many other things, part of it was chance in a way. I did a lot of keynote speaking for the Danish Psoriasis Foundation and was very active politically for the foundation at a time. And Lars, the director of Psoriasis Foundation, asked me, just, there's this thing in the US, do you want to go with me? And I said, yes, of course, I would love to. I think for those that starts to get involved and that see the change that you can do with your voice, it kind of gets not addictive, but something that you feel you have to do. So I feel it's not a choice that I have, it's something that I have to do. I've been part of IDEOM now for I think 5 years since. The first year was highly confusing, to be honest. And one of the things that perplexed me at first was the understanding of time. To me as a patient, everything is here and now. Everything either hurts or is well treated now or soon. In this room, all the talks are about long-term outcomes, long procedures. And that was hard to me to put into context with what we were doing. So I think actually one of the first sessions that I had together with Lars was answering on a Delphi study. And I had no understanding of what we actually were doing and why, but doing it more and more and talking together with both the researchers and Lordies and all the other people that are involved, you start seeing how impactful it is. And also, I've been part of 3 clinical trials where I didn't wonder at the time, but now I do wonder, why did they ask the wrong questions? Because their perception of quality of life was not the same as mine. It was not something that was relevant. So in essence, they were asking me the wrong things. I understand where they came from, and I think that's one of the great things that IDEOM also does, is that I have a much better understanding now of why do researchers ask what they do, but also that if you do not impact it with the patient voice, then they have no chance of actually adapting into it. I'm hopeful, and I know that future clinical trials based on what we've done here will give the patients a much better end result. My goals here as a patient research partner is to be available. I think that's one part. It's to be part of the network. It's to be more knowledgeable about the other illnesses that is part of IDEOM, to learn that and to see similarities, and to bring that home to Denmark as well, to spread the word and spread the knowledge. So that's one part. The other part is to use my voice to ensure that all the knowledge that I have from Denmark and the fellow patients that I've been talked to, that when they speak about quality of life or perception of illness, that I affect that as much as possible in the right direction. So that's kind of my goals. I would love for IDEOM to be even broader, see even more patients. To have as many patients here as possible would only strengthen the outcome, I'm quite sure. And also, it's without a doubt the best patient network that I've been part of at any time.